Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Nationwide. I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's begin by telling you that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, has rolled over its ongoing strike by another 4 weeks after 5 months of industrial action. The decision to extend the strike by the National Executive Council of Asuu was reached on Sunday after a review of the 12 weeks extension of strike initiated since May 9th, 2022, without the government and Asuu resolving the lingering industrial dispute. A statement by Asuu President Professor Emmanuel Osodeke stated that Asuu has decided to give government more time to satisfactorily resolve all outstanding issues by another rollover of 4 weeks. Two other issues. It's official. The continuous voter registration exercise has been suspended and there will be no further extension. INEC National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, stated this on NTA News Panorama earlier today at 12 noon. So let's see the excerpt.
We announced an extension. People simply went away and just returned a week to the expiration period. This registration cannot go on ad infinitum. It has to come to an end to enable us clean up the voters register, to enable us carry out display of the voters register for claims and objections, and also to enable us print the permanent voters, print the PVC of new registrants and those who have done transfer and those whose PVCs are damaged, and then get them to our state and local government offices and the registration areas for people to come and collect them.
Festus Okoye there speaking on no extension of voter registration. The INEC Electoral Institute has carried a post-mortem on the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections. Though the two elections were adjudged to be credible, the Electoral Institute notes that the review is necessary to identify areas that need to be improved ahead of the 2023 polls.
And all reports we had across the country, observers, monitors, and all these things, all praised the election as very, very successful. The exercise today is essentially meant for us to x-ray such kind of challenges if they were there, so that we can address them.
The first way to actually correct your mistake is to accept you have made that mistake. We wouldn't know all the mistakes we made until the HODs, the state training officers, the LTTOs, and the people that are in the field, that our foot soldiers comes here to tell us some of the things. We have documented some, but they will tell us some. So we'll accept them and we'll correct, because that is the entire. We don't want any of those challenges to appear in 2023. Basically, by and large, that is the purpose of this. So it's a self-introspection, it's a self-assessment, it's self-evaluation, it's to interrogate ourselves. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And how do we correct those ones? And like the chair said, there is no perfect election. And God willing, we hope to get 2023.
On electoral issues as activities get towards the conduct of the 2023 elections, which is underway, legal practitioners and political analysts have called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure that political parties and their candidates abide by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. This is coming against the allegation that part of the Act was breached during the conduct of the primaries. Austin Ayembe will tell us more.
The process leading to the conduct of the general elections in 2023 is on. The first and crucial phase, which is the party primaries, has been concluded with the exercise relatively commended by some observers. But beyond the exercise was the concern about how political parties and their candidates comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, as some legal practitioners said, a vital provision of the Act was breached.
Section 115D creates an offense that says a person should not sign nomination to represent more than one constituency, while 115K creates the punishment for that offense in 115D. So, for instance, a constituency you may be representing may be that of a councillorship, while another constituency you represent may be that of the gubernatorial or the House of Reps, senatorial, presidential, so on and so forth. So the import of that particular provision is you should not attempt to represent two constituencies by being nominated thereof at the same time. And the punishment is what is contained in 115K, and I think it's a maximum of 2 years.
A political party must obey its constitution. So if you not have said your candidate should not submit double nomination, and a political party allows such candidate in flagrant disobedience with reckless abandonment and impunity to submit double nomination, there should be consequences for such political party.
Interpreting the section, they call on Nigerians, particularly interested parties, to challenge the issue of double nomination and signing of forms in court, as INEC cannot do it alone, insisting that some people
mandate to political parties. The cause says, where a political party fails to comply with the provisions of this act in the conduct of its primaries, each candidate for election shall not be included in the election for particular position in issue.
Frowning on the development, they advocate the passage of the bill before the National Assembly, seeking the establishment of a commission to deal with electoral
Made
Offences Commission, its mandates will be carried out, and it will at least be able to minimize the excesses, the impunity, the abuse of the law that we see people are doing. But politicians who are supposed to make this law, they are very reluctant on doing that.
Advancing democratic practices is a collective responsibility of all Nigerians, hence an appeal to all to support INEC to succeed as an umpire. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
The governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has met with some PDP governors and other stakeholders who coordinated his presidential campaign.
The meeting was the first after the party's presidential primary, held behind closed door. Findings, however, revealed that issues discussed revolved around the seemingly unresolved post-presidential primary crisis, threatening to create splinter groups in the party. A member of the PDP Board of Trustees and North Central Coordinator of the Wike presidential campaign, Professor Jerry Ghana, briefed the media.
We have frankly reviewed matters among ourselves. We want to confirm that we are solidly together as a group. And we also want to let the nation know that we shall keep our people briefed as developments unfold.
At another strategic meeting of PDP members, Senator Dino Melaye, representing the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, harped on the need for the party to remain as one united and strong voice of opposition.
Youth should come together. We should think on what to do that will better this country for us.
Meanwhile, the coalition of PDP National and Diaspora Certified Group has expressed US-based Director General Daniel Akeni are voting. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Oto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. A statement by Chief Obasanjo's Special Assistant on Media, Kende Akinyemi, says Tambuwal arrived with some of its key aides on national issues. And the use of police uniforms and accoutrements by some individuals. A statement by the first public relations officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi explains that the Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba equally frowns at the demeaning manner in which movie makers portray the police institution in their movies, using the police uniform without recourse to the provisions of the law. The IGP has directed all commands and formations, IGP IGP Monitoring Unit, provost, marshals and ex-squad to arrest and immediately prosecute persons engaging in the illegal sales of police uniforms and accoutrement within their jurisdiction, while film or skit makers who portray the Nigeria police officers in bad light without applying for and being duly issued a permit later for such portrayals are warned to desist with immediate effect or face the full weight of the law. A look at health. Primary health care tutors converged on Enugu through a workshop to meet global standards of learning. The workshop, organized by Community Health Practitioners Registration Board of Nigeria, has a theme: application of digital technology.
Primary healthcare tutors are responsible for lecturing students in the health institution, hence the need for them to key into the digital technology to tackle the challenges faced in the training of the students, especially lecturing methodology. The Registrar, Community Healthcare Practitioners Registration Board of Nigeria, Alhaji Bashi Idris, represented, noted that the workshop is apt to redefine the knowledge of the tutors with the modern and contemporary teaching methods.
Is very
There were lectures on the need to integrate the primary healthcare tutors in the use of digital technology to ensure effective teaching to meet the digital global best practices. In Enugu, Chimaroke Ugu, NTA News.
Alright, we'll take a trip to Lagos to join Michael. He will pick up with the next set of reports from that end. Michael?
Thank you, Ruth. The global health community has been battling coronavirus and monkeypox. Now, Marburg is beginning to reappear, posing more threats to humanity. Though not in Nigeria, prevention, they say, is better than cure. In this report, Hinginojan Adams examines the level of awareness and alertness of Nigerians.
As well as Belgrade in Serbia in 1967, Marburg virus has traveled several miles, crossing borders and resurfacing with different variants in some countries. Ghana, a country close to Nigeria, has recently fallen prey to the virus. This is an indication that Nigeria may not...
Have you ever heard about Marburg virus?
Marburg virus? No, not really. Not at all.
Can you spell it so I can Google it out?
No, never. What's that?
Though the virus is not in Nigeria, these responses show that relevant authorities have to...
The non-specific patients start, experience what's called prostration. So they start having, obtundation. They start experiencing severe body weakness.
The World Health Organization places fatality rate at 88%, but says with good patient care, deaths can be reduced.
We already started building, courtesy of COVID, to build molecular laboratories where case detection can occur and provide disease surveillance so that the NCDC can guide government.
Marburg virus, a hemorrhagic fever, by all to stay safe. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
As part of government's self-requirement process, shortcomings in the ease of doing business reports of 2016, Ruth Ariel Samuel has details.
Visa on arrival, which is issued at the port of entry in Nigeria, is available to frequently traveled high net worth investors and intending visitors who may not be able to obtain visa at the Nigerian missions or embassies in their countries of residence due to the absence of a Nigerian mission in those countries or exigencies of urgent business travels.
This will bring us the bottlenecks in obtaining visa for people who want to come into the country.
Especially with the advanced economies that have the capacity to bring investment into this country, to bring capital into this country, who have the capacity to patronize our tourism industry, our hospitality industry. We need to make it as easy as possible.
However, how much of this policy do Nigerians know?
I'm not aware.
When you get to the country and they have to stamp your passport, issue you a visa before you go in.
Though visa on arrival seeks to improve the ease of doing business, attract foreign direct investment, tourists, and individuals with specialized skills, there are those who believe that the process should be simplified and made easy.
Nigeria as it is today is not exactly a tourist destination. So, as is concerned.
So put under close watch while they are in the country.
While commending the federal government for the implementation of its visa on arrival policy for Africans visiting Nigeria, public awareness on the benefits of the policy should be created for full acceptance. In Lagos, Ruth Ariel Samuel, NTA News.
The social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages, and when we return, Nationwide continues from our Port Harcourt Network Center, where Gabriela is standing by.
Broken times, while appreciating the need for educating, informing and enlightening the public on issues bordering on our national development, the Commission wishes to seize these opportunism. Consequently, the Commission implores broadcasters to advise guests and or analysts on their platforms not to polarize the citizenry with divisive rhetorics in driving hosting code. Take the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, especially the underlisted sections. Current affairs programs shall not transmit divisive material that may threaten or compromise the indivisibility and indissolubility of Nigeria as a sovereign state. Fight Station is responsible for the content it transmits and shall be held liable for any content in violation of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code. Be advised. Signed, Malam Balarebe Shehu Ilela, Director General, Announcer. Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent during and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Every day in our country, senior citizens are discriminated against, disparaged, and treated with disdain by those who ought to respect them. We are all complicit in the way we have treated the elderly members of our society as institutions, families, or members of a shared society. Every time senior citizens get offered less than they deserve for the work they do because they are old, poor, and desperate, we are failing them. Senior citizen loses a child, and wow, they must be responsible for their death. Every time a senior citizen gets labeled a witch, is called mad, and shooed out of the way because they have no memory of where they were headed and look unkempt, we are failing them. We say, abeg, it all old, make it do die, make everybody for rest. Patty and old for corn. Our ailing fathers, mothers, aunties and uncles are deserving of quality healthcare and peaceful transition. Make their last stop all forms of discrimination against them today.
And warm welcome to our Port Harcourt studios. Basically, challenged persons in the Akwa Ibom State have expressed readiness to participate in the 2023 general elections, but declared a lack of comparable people in the nation's political process. His reports.
Inclusion of persons with disabilities is essential to upholding human rights, peace, and security as stated in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Social, economic, and cultural life is therefore imperative. The 2023 general elections will hold in few months, and there are concerns where the disabled persons are in government-formulated policies, especially when they have to exercise their franchise. Persons living with disabilities expressed readiness to participate in the upcoming choice.
For instance, the physically challenged, how accessible is the hall of voting? Can they walk through the hall? Is it going to be a bungalow or a story building? All of those things must be taken into consideration so that persons with disability exercise their franchise at equal level.
I want the electoral body to work on how to help us to do the thumb printing very fast. We should be considered first.
Calling on government and MDS that they should facilitate access of persons with disability in all aspects of life.
This challenge, however, reel out their frustrations towards exercising their franchise. As often said that there is ability in every disability, as efficient contributions with persons with disabilities through their various vocations have proven to contribute to national development. In Uyo, Emedion Umo, NTA News.
Car members in Obiakpo local government area of Rivers State have donated hospital consumables to Model Primary Healthcare Center. Rumor Dumaives.
Community Development Service is one of the 4 cardinal programs of the NYSC scheme to improve the health condition of host communities towards community development. CDS Group Charity Corps members in Obiakpo local government area presented hospital consumable to Model Primary Healthcare Center. Rumor Dumaives. Items presented include tissues, antiseptic,
We've gone to correctional center, we've gone to schools, we've gone to the orphanage. We're always donating. That's a way of showing charity. And from Obiakpo Charity CDS Group, this is our way of showing love to the community.
Receiving the items on behalf of the medical center, Matron, Model Primary Health Care, Umodumea, Diabeke Wibasi, thanked the corps members for their show of interest towards healthcare delivery in the area.
On behalf of bless and replenish their pockets in the name of Jesus.
In Port Harcourt, Yanukume Ulolo, NTA News.
And that's our contributions. It's now back to Ruth in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Welcome back. The Ministry of Aviation is inviting private sector participation in the development of the cargo agro-allied terminal in the nation's aviation industry through a public-private partnership process. Qualification process for the selection is to be through a competitive bidding process that would lead to the successful procurement of concessionaries technically and financially capable to design, build, finance, operate, maintain and transfer the terminals within the concession period for the optimal benefit of the country. The locations of the terminals across the country, including Kebbi, Plateau, Katsina, Cross River, Edo, Ondo and Adamawa states. Interested firms, consortia are expected to meet the qualification requirements specified in the request package, and only qualified parties shall be invited to the request for proposal stage. Interested firms or consortiums are to check the Nigerian Aviation Public-Private Partnership Project website http://www.nigeriaaviationppproject.com for more details and clarification of the process. Responses must be submitted not later than 12th September 2022 to the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Aviation, Abuja. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has cautioned the general public to be vigilant and circumspect, not to deal with scam artists who pose as recruitment agents for the service and collect huge sums of money from also unsuspecting victims with the promise to provide them employment. A statement by the Special Assistant to the Executive Chairman of the service, Oluwatobi Wajola, says FIRS is not conducting any recruitment at the moment, and more importantly, it does not conduct recruitment exercises through backdoor channels. Should the FIRS at any instance have need to expand its workforce and consequently seek to recruit competent hands to carry out the task of revenue mobilization for the nation, the public can rest assured that the service would follow appropriate channels and processes in doing so, including advertisement on public channels of communication, followed by rigorous screening, interviews and examination exercises. Let's turn to other issues. Economic experts on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria have described the continued depreciation of the naira in recent times as worrisome, while calling for the enforcement of policies that will address the trend. Let's hear more from Lydia Sampson.
The production structure of the country, which is import dependent to high capital flights and non-functioning of the nation's refineries. These multifaceted challenges, in the opinion of economic experts, are responsible for currency racketeering in the country, including hoarding of foreign exchange, which is taking a huge toll on citizens.
We are running the crawling peg exchange rate regime, and we are not crawling as much as we should be crawling. Depreciation of the value of the naira, if you index it with inflation at 18%, where should the exchange rate be? Should it be at 420 naira? Should it be at 500 naira per dollar?
Panic buying today reduce the value of the dollar, thereby also enhancing panic buying tomorrow. Put this together, the trajectory will now be a lost confidence in the currency.
With more confidence building as well as increase in local manufacturing and patronage of made in Nigeria products, the guests are optimistic that the narrative will change, while also cautioning against quick fixes.
The industrial goods that we are supposed to be producing in the country, we import all of them. We import raw materials, we import intermediate goods. All these put pressure on the stock of foreign exchange available.
At some point in this country, about 75% of the cars driven here, 9% of the cars we drive here are imported. The clothes too we wear, we used to have textile companies. Today, where are they? That's why I say legacy issues. The productive base of the economy is shallow, and until that is sorted out, we will continue to have this depreciation.
They also advocated the need for policies that will discourage preference for foreign currencies over the naira in order to restore citizens' confidence on the local currency. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Virtually all states of the Federation battle with ecological challenges. The allocation designated for the interventions by the Ecological Project Office and states have been described as inadequate to ameliorate the challenges. Permanent Secretary, Ecological Project Office, Habiba Lawal, gave this indication on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria. She says with over 2,000 ecological sites nationwide, sharing the federal government's 1% allocation between the office and 5 other agencies is quite challenging.
Out of the federal government's 1%, 45% of that 1% goes to 4 other agencies. So it is the balance of that 1%, bearing the directive of the president that there must be at least at every time 5 billion naira left in the account of that fund for any national emergency he may need to handle. Okay. So for that, it is within the balance that on quarterly, when the funds was much, we used to go to ask the president on quarterly basis to approve some projects, and we ensure that we get every part of the country to have a share of it. But now that the funds, more people are like NALDA was scrapped, it was only revived a year and a half ago. Northeast Development Commission was created only like 2 years ago. So before then, we had more funds. But with the coming of these two, the funds have reduced. So we go to the president on average every 6 months to ask for him to look at what we're proposing so that we can be able to ameliorate some ecological challenges.
Whether states are judiciously deploying funds meant for ecological projects, the Permanent Secretary urged citizens to demand accountability from their states, as the Ecological Office has no oversight over states' ecological funds shared at FAC meetings. All right, let's go to Jos. Felicia will pick up from there.
Ruth, welcome to JOS. The Director General Industrial Training Fund, Joseph Ari, says the fund will develop a national occupational standard towards creating a pool of certified apprentices, technicians and craftsmen. He stated this in Jos while unveiling the third Industrial Training Fund Strategic Policy Direction for 2022 to 2025. Ndenyang and Aviation reports that the theme of the Strategic Policy Direction is re-engineering skills for sustainable development.
The third strategic policy direction for 2022 to 2025 intends to scale up activities of the fund to addressing unemployment and other socio-economic challenges. The new policy framework, which has external and internal components, the DG says, will be achieved by leveraging on the fund's experience, expertise and expansive networks. The fund is also working to refocus technical and vocational skills training by facilitating the institutionalization of the National Apprenticeship and Traineeship System.
The fund will focus on ensuring full adherence to the standards and regulating vocational skills training outfits through the accreditation of skills training centers and certification of all skills training.
The new policy framework will upgrade 3 of its skills training centers for advanced skills training for employment in Lagos, Kano and Jos to train 450 instructors annually.
To achieve this, the fund will register as a super certification center, extend the duration of its skills intervention program in line with NATS.
While reacting to the production of Made in Nigeria mobile phone, Joseph Ari says line machines have been installed and the legal framework is being fine-tuned. On the silence of the unveiling, the Director General presented a laptop and a 3D printer to Daniel Dungwon, the winner of this year's National MSMEs Awards in Leather Works, towards enhancing his work in Jos, Ndenyan and the Abuja. NTA News.
The National Social Investment Program says it has empowered more than 60,000 beneficiaries in Plateau State under its various programs from January to date. The focal person of the program, Dr. Sumai Hamza, stated this while reviewing her activities. Ndenyang and Aviation again reports.
Since its establishment in 2016 by the federal government, the National Social Investment Program has been addressing issues of poverty across the country through distribution of resources to vulnerable groups for self-reliance. Focal person of the program in Plateau State says a lot has been achieved from January 2022 to date under various categories of the program with increased number of beneficiaries.
As at now, enumeration is still ongoing for those who are interested. As I'm speaking now, feeding is still going on and children will be fed up to the end of the term. And on this one, we have 3,421 cooks that are feeding 240 and 54,313 pupils in 2,325 schools across the 17 local governments. Under the conditional cash transfer, we have 74,377 people that are beneficiary households that are benefiting from the 10,000 bi-monthly support to poor and vulnerable households.
NPower is one of the prominent aspects of the investment program that has tackled poverty and created employment opportunities for youth. The NCIP says it is working towards having a social protection policy and legislative framework for sustainability of the program even after the present administration. In Jos, Ndenyan and the Aviation. NTA News.
Time now for another break. Nationwide continues shortly in Abuja.
Elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household in safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Hoping that their educational deprivation is not the end of the day.
Agencies and stakeholders to proactively tackle these challenges.
Women in most countries of the world constitute about 50% of registered voters. Williams, reporting for Dateline 360.
Jos, Caleb Gochin, Dateline 360.
Naja
Dateline 360. Chidi Okrafo.
For Dateline 360.
In Lagos, Michael Olaleye.
Reporting for Dateline 360. I am Omosola Omojola. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back. In Nigeria, criminal trials involving defendants and pre-trial detainees are routinely hampered by the inability of defendants to afford legal representation. Now, the Federal Ministry of Justice has stepped in by inaugurating court duty solicitors who are expected to handle pro bono cases of indigent defendants before the inferior courts.
This will ensure that there is a speedy trial of cases, there is the congestion of court docket, and that the detainees are not unduly or necessarily detained longer than necessary.
The court duty solicitor scheme is yet another mechanism to ensure that vulnerable persons, particularly indigent, are not left to the whims and caprices of the criminal justice system without the benefit of a legal representation. The courts in our system are supposed to be theaters for the dispensation of justice, and this scheme is a good step in the right direction.
The scheme is in addition to a similar task entrusted by the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee to solicitors who handle sundry cases like bail applications at the police stations.
You see someone that has been brought out from the fish that has been brought out from the water. He looks confused. So we now step in.
The pro bono legal practitioners have already commenced work at 3 magistrate courts in the Federal Capital Territory. The use of social media has been identified as a new means of luring youths into human trafficking. The Makurdi Zonal Director of National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, Gloria Ivorin Bay, made this known as the World World Day Against Human Trafficking in Benue State. Grace Ichekba reports that the agency organized a road walk to create awareness on the dangers of human trafficking with the theme, Use and Abuse of Technology.
World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is marked annually on the 30th of July to create awareness of persons being trafficked and taken away without consent. It is aimed at educating the people that trafficking in persons is a crime against humanity, with women and children mostly affected and exploited sexually and otherwise. In Makurdi, the Benue State capital, a road walk was organized by the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, to enlighten members of the public on the dangers of human trafficking and how it affects the society negatively.
Technology is being abused by the traffickers. Traffickers use technology to recruit, to lure young children, young girls, and then to also control them.
Some stakeholders are calling on the general public to be wary of juicy job offers and scholarships in the Western world, as those are the new dimensions used.
These days we are told that when you go to Saudi Arabia or other Arabian countries, for those who are nurses and medical officers, they pay them millions of naira. How sure are we about all that which is happening? Even if they are getting the millions, how sure are we about the true intents of all those persons?
Because trafficking is one of the most ill-lucrative business in the world, where people are lied to, told things that don't exist, especially using the social media.
Most of the people in the rural areas are victims because they don't have the understanding. But with this awareness now, we would advise that when anybody comes to lure them into this, they should seek for information.
They advocate better synergy between relevant organizations to tackle the menace of human trafficking in the country. In Makurdi, Grace Anyalewa, Ichekpa, NTA News.
The quest for quality education, irrespective of gender, is receiving attention at a Leadership and Scholarship Summit organized by a non-governmental organization in Enugu. Uchenna Innamili reports that vulnerable girls are the key focus.
This foundation has improved me a lot. I've learned and I've got knowledge through this foundation. Got my scholarship and I'm schooling.
I am studying mass communication in the Open University right now. I work in an IDP as a volunteer to teach the children.
These are some of the beneficiaries of Jinko Foundation. It's a leadership foundation aimed at helping the less privileged and vulnerable young girls in the society, such as medical mission, educational program, and maternal health care clinic.
That girls are important. That's important to educate girls, to empower girls, to inspire girls. It will be better as a society.
If you consider where they are coming from, I think they've done very well. You consider the place where they were when we met them. Some of them couldn't express themselves. They couldn't even look at you on the face to say, my name is XYZ.
The Leadership Scholarship Summit featured special training on how young girls can be great leaders in the society by exhibiting it practically. In Enugu, Uchenna Nnamele, NTA News.
Lagos State Governor Sanwo-Olu has commended the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Segun Runshewe, for promoting Nigerian unity and cohesion. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who received Runshewe, committee members of NAFEST, insist that Lagos State will bring a new vista to hosting of NAFEST in November, noting that the unity of Nigeria should be paramount in the effort of using culture as a vehicle of promoting national unity and cohesion. Otumba Segun Runshewe, on his part, disclosed that the Technical Committee for NAFEST 2022 was in Lagos to put finishing touches to its preparation of the iconic cultural event, appreciating the governor for hosting the technical committee and making all participants feel at home in Lagos. He assured the governor that the council will not fail in the mission to use culture and arts to bring Nigerians together. Except urgent steps are taken, the danger associated with poor exposure to hazards of unsafe retail and handling of liquefied petroleum gas, popularly called cooking gas, may be an accident waiting to happen, with adverse consequences, of course. Miriam Judge Jitabo, in this report, she takes a look actually at the real and present dangers lurking around society's gas usage.
Some people, the best cooking appliance, they will go for gas cooker. But how equipped are they with safety tips that will guide them while cooking to avoid unnecessary hazard? At the peak of this concern is the rising wave of cooking gas explosion across the country due to poor handling and indiscriminate construction of LPG plants. The menace has claimed several lives. Also not spared is the loss of properties.
Many of our cylinders in this country are very old. When gas cylinders malfunction, it's usually because the gauge, the valve that is supposed to regulate the flow of the gas is damaged. So when you have a highly flammable thing like propane, which is actually what makes up the majority of the LPG, and it leaks, all it takes is an ignition of some kind to create some kind of an explosion.
Meanwhile, this end user begs to differ.
The way I use my gas, because I know it's actually dangerous, so I don't go close, I don't use my phone close to my gas whenever I'm cooking, and I don't shake it because I know it's very dangerous, it can explode.
When you're owning the gas, you shouldn't on it first before owning, you should on your matches first before owning the gas, because if the gas is coming out and you on your matches, it might explode.
Apart from bad cylinders and poor transportation, wrongly transporting gas cylinders in vehicle boots instead of the back seat with windows half open, findings reveal that many people find it convenient to convey the product on motorbikes under scorching heat and exposure to petrol, which constitutes a very major environmental health hazard. Mariam George, Jitubo, NTA News.
Let's take due caution. All right, let's talk sports. That's next.
The 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying double-header between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Daughters of Guinea-Bissau, billed to hold in September, has been postponed by the Confederation of African Football, CAF. The new date for the encounter is now billed to hold in March 2023, as CAF have already shifted the biennial competition to January 2024 due to the unfavorable weather conditions during the summer in Côte d'Ivoire. Super Eagles lead Group A of the 2023 AFCON with 6 points from 2 matches. Sierra Leone and Sao Tome and Principe are the other teams in the qualifying group. The teams will now use the September international window to engage in friendlies ahead of the Mondial. Meanwhile, Team Nigeria are among 145 nations that will participate in the 2022 World Athletics Under-20 Championship in Cali, Colombia. 1,553 athletes are to participate in 45 events. The championship is an international athlete competition for athletes qualifying as junior, born not earlier than January 1, 2023. Team Nigeria will compete in 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 4x100 meters, 4x400 meters, as well as long jump. And finally, Red Bull's Max Verstappen drove an outstanding race to win the Hungarian Grand Prix from 10th on the grid despite a spin costing the lead. Verstappen passed title rivals Charles Leclerc twice, raising fresh questions about Ferrari's race operations. Verstappen was imperious in moving through the field from a slowly grid position caused by engine problems. Red Bull solid and aggressive on their strategy, and Ferrari uncertain as they converted second and third on the grid to having neither driver on the podium at the finish. With sport updates, Clement Oloruntoba, NTA News.
We're done with Nationwide. Thank you very much for your company. Remember, if you play your part and we do ours together, we can win the war against rape and rapists. I'm Ruth Aguele. Enjoy your evening.